right, I need to get rid of this. Get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. As you hear going on over here, I'm just throwing out the stuff that's non-essential. I told you this book got to me, man. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Phenomenal book. Take a listen to it. Get an audio download, a 30-day free trial by going to audibletrial.com/TSE. Again, audibletrial.com/TSE. The book is Essentialism. Phenomenal piece. All right, get rid of that too. Don't need that, and I don't need that. Okay, so now that we're down to the essentials, guys, I want to let you know that today we have a phenomenal guest coming on our show. His name is Timo Rain, and Timo is actually one of the co-founders of an awesome CRM called Pipedrive. You're going to love the discussion as we focus on activity-based selling. Boom! Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And as you heard me talk about there in the little teaser, we have our great guest, Timo Rain, is going to talk to us today a little bit more about activity-based selling. Every seller has a pipeline. Every seller has a sales process, or should. They need to get a deal from A to Z, if that's long, how long your sales process is. Maybe shorter. Hope it's shorter. But the whole point is you got to know what you're doing. You got to have a push, something that's guiding you along. So Timo and his folks over at Pipedrive create a phenomenal software, great CRM. Don't know what you're using, but you should check them out too and see if it can benefit you and your team. But Pipedrive is awesome. But it's all about activity-based selling. And we're going to have a discussion about the power of activity-based selling today in this episode and how it can help you to become more successful. Before we dive into that, I'm going to give a couple shout outs real quick. I want to give a huge shout out this week to Randy Zegenfuss. Thank you so much, Randy, for connecting. Carrie, Pamela Gann, thank you so much for connecting. Shelly-Ann Smalling, thank you so much, Shelly-Ann. And Francisco Hidalgo, thank you so much for connecting with me. Wish you guys great success out there as you're in the sales world hustling. We won't take up much more time. We're going to go ahead and dive into our discussion today with our good friend Timo. Welcome to the show, Timo.
Hey, Donald.
Dude, thank you so much. And congratulations on all the great things you guys are doing over there at Pipedrive, man.
Thank you. And thank you for having me here.
Well, awesome. Well, we've been bragging a little bit about you guys. I've been telling some friends about you. So I'm excited to chat and learn a little bit more about some of the cool things you guys are doing, and specifically around this concept of activity-based selling. But before we dive into all that fun stuff, Timo, why don't you tell me a little bit more about your coolest sales experience when you were the actual customer?
Oh, when I was the actual customer. Well, to be honest, first of all, I suffer from a very bad memory. People who know me best, they know that I'm really bad there. But I'm trying to understand what it could have been. I can't sort of specifically go back to any specific moment, but what I know is that I'm always blown away when I'm dealing with somebody who's really professional about what they do. And it must have been something which just, you could see that, the person who's selling their thing, they just know what it is. They take the time to understand whether there's a good chance that I might need this as well. So probably I was really influenced by something like this. And I have to say one thing. I think every day I'm reminded, especially that I have personally made the move from growing up, being born in Soviet Union, growing up in an Eastern European country, and now living for the last 3 years in California, how big of an impact anybody can have when they decide to just be, cool and friendly with a stranger that they're trying to have a good conversation with, either sales conversation or customer service conversation. It's just amazing of what that sort of a choice does when you just decide that I'm going to be a person who's going to be a great person to be with or chat with. So I'm just, you asked me about the coolest sales experience. I think I've been bombarded with a number of them every day as soon as I go out and go to the groceries. And it's a different experience that I have from where I grew up, where people are, let's put it that way, they're much more sincere, but at the same time, you see them being, somewhat more rude or cold, especially out, in the beginning. But yeah, sort of, rumbling, thinking aloud here when you asked such a question.
No, man, it's good. I've had so many different answers with this question. And one of the things, though, that I come to realize in all of them is it comes back down to the seller creating an experience, like somebody, whatever it was, someone who called you or somebody who knocked on your door, or whether you're buying a software or whatever, the things that people usually share tying to what you talk about is just that someone is able to create a great experience for you they did something that just was like, oh man, that stood out, and I'm going to tell somebody else about it, or I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, so
I fully agree. I do think that as long as we live, I mean, human beings, selling is going to be, best done and best experienced between, two parties, and them being human beings. I mean, obviously we have online, marketplaces, and you can buy something from some company without any human interaction. It's fine, because we have commodity products, and not only that, but there's a really good distribution and everything, and we have reviews, and you can see how the customers have felt. But I think what is really important is that the experience happens between actual people. That's what makes sales and selling so appealing, I think, from both sides.
Yeah, and it ties back to the Daniel Pink's book, To Sell is Human. I know Jeb Blunt written something as well, People Buy You. But, a lot of these authors and these sales experts tying right back to that concept is being human. And, going into like you guys in Pipedrive, you guys, from what I understood from your story, actually, I won't try to tell your story. I'll let you tell me your story. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Pipedrive and how you guys came about? Because I feel there's a lot of human characteristics that you guys created in your product.
Yeah, in short, it was just a couple of guys who had been doing sales for most of their lives up until that point when we founded the company in 2010. And just doing sales, trying to be as professional as we can, and knowing that we need a tool like any professional would, when you want to produce a good result constantly. And then just failing to find the tool which would help them in a way that we need from a salesperson perspective. You could see many tools. We were able to see many tools which were built for companies sort of like top down, like looking at the CEO and maybe CFO, and then building a customer relationship management tool. You could see that. We use different tools. We use, Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics as one of the last before we sort of realized that we just don't have it. I mean, in the market that we want to use. Yeah, in that sense, we were kind of like humans just struggling. I don't know if frustration was the right word, but we were definitely struggling with making a tool useful for ourselves as salespeople. And we knew that we needed one. We just didn't see one. And so we developed the idea and found the right people and founded a company. And purpose was very simple. We need to build a tool that is going to help salespeople, and at the same time is going to be something that they love to use. You have to hit this combination. So that's what we try to do.
Yeah, and because I remember when I first started to, working with companies, and they tell me you have to use a CRM. I'm like, bro, I'm a seller, man. I don't want to sit here and do paperwork or, sit on behind a computer and log all my notes. It's just so annoying and stuff like that. But obviously, it's not necessarily a hindrance. The whole concept was to be a tool. But how does the term, tell me a little bit more about activity-based selling. What exactly is activity-based selling? Because I know that's how you guys built the system, correct?
Yeah, it's been affecting our thinking and the way of working, I think, so much that we can say that. But at the end of the day, it's quite simple. It's just your belief that if you focus on, actions that you have under your control and go and do them every day, every week, then you can, as they say in sports, like you can live with the results basically. But what I'm saying is there is, some sort of results will come, and you will give yourself the best chance of having, great results. What happens in sales, however, as you probably know, because when you think about it, it's really a transaction that if it's done, some of that as a, in a form of commission will end up in a salesperson's pocket. And it's never guaranteed. So anybody who's been in sales knows that you only get paid when you sell something. Makes sense. But it also creates such a, such a demand, maybe desire is not even the right word, but the pressure to sell. And I think that sort of twists the mind of a salesperson to the point where you just look at these results because you need them. I need these sales. To the point that some people in sales actually honestly admit to customers at the end of the month or quarter that they need this sale just because they have some contest going on or something, which is funny, but it's true actually. But it just shows, I think, how much of a demand is there, how much of the pressure is there. And what happens with that, obviously, as you know, is that you, in sales, just cannot control the results. I mean, there's no way that I could make you buy something, to be honest. I mean, I could think of myself that I could have an influence, right? I mean, that's clearly the case. But to make you buy something that you don't want to buy, I mean, that's impossible. unless I had a gun, then I can use that, but that's not sales anymore. So
kidnap,
so yeah,
robbery.
action-based selling just for us in our heads has meant that you just figure out what it is that you need to do to get to a successful sales result, and then you just go on and do it.
How do I go about doing that? Say I'm a business owner, I'm listening to this interview, I'm like, okay, this sounds cool. Where's the first place do I start?
I think it's just looking at what goes on when you go about, trying to make sales in your own business. I mean, everything starts with the fact that you have a product, you have a service, and you try to find who you could sell it to. I think it's probably fair to say that anybody could figure out a way to ask from someone whether this is something that they want to buy. I mean, it's not rocket science in that sense, right? So, and then the question is, when somebody actually does buy, you can always ask, okay, so what happened? What it is that I just did that, made that person buy, even though I know that I can't really make them buy, but it must have been something that I was doing. And what I like to think of that is that you come up with key activities that are necessary to sell your product or your service in your business. And you kind of map out the process or the sort of step-by-step path. And, once you have that really well done, the logical step is to repeat it and improve on it. So that's what, I mean, for me, that is where the activity-based selling really lives. And the success comes from the fact that you map it out really well, that, okay, these are the things that we need to do because, these are the steps that I do when I get to a sale. And then you just figure out the way how you can repeat this and how you can do it at a really good pace and having a really good rhythm. And, if you can do it, somebody else can do it. So you can hire another person. You can coach that other person to do the same thing. There are certain things which are universal. Kind of like you can take it from one business, from one industry, from one region and copy. But some of it is definitely just very product specific, very business specific. And I've heard every company that I've talked to that they have something special going on, which is true. Part of it is true, but part of it's also quite applicable somewhere else.
This isn't rocket science, like you said, but why do you think so many sales individuals or sales pros or companies don't fall in line with this and just have like everyone is doing their own different processes and then go to failure? Like, why do you think it is? Is it just too much work to set it up at first or to track your progress, or is it laziness? I mean, just to get your thoughts.
I have to be honest with you, I really don't know that much, but I have a couple of observations though. Mm-hmm. One of the things is that I've noticed that people have a different level of professionalism about the things that they do in life in general. You could see that some people look at everything they do from a very professional point of view. And normally what happens is that they will, at the end of the day or as they practice, they will have a lot of control. They have a lot of influence because they know how they do it and they know how they can, get better or get back to it, right, when they've lost it. But there are so many people who don't have that. And I think a lot of these people also happen to be starting in sales. And sales is not an easy job to sort of have a non-professional approach in, if I put it that way. It's just going to bite you. It's a tough, demanding job. And it's going to basically kick your ass if you're not professional about it. That's what I've experienced myself, at least. So I was trying to I'm trying to put this together is like, why is it? Because you always ask this question. Every sales manager asks this question because you have your A players in your team and you have your B players and C players. You always try to ask this. It's like, why is it that somebody is better? And I've seen that better people normally have, like I said, this sort of a really good motivation. Maybe it's because they want to be a professional, but just let's say that they just need it. Sometimes people don't even have any standards, but they just have very big motivation for whatever reason. And with that comes a lot of resilience, I think, which is just human quality. And if you're in sales, if you really want to do well, you require a lot of that because you're going to be bounced around. It's probably one of the only jobs that I know where while you're trying to do constantly your daily work, you're going to have so many moments where you're going to be pushed by other people, and not only pushed, but judged. And you feel that it's not fair. Like I'm trying to do my best, but people don't want to talk to me. People want to push me away. They do it in a way that actually affects my emotions. And it doesn't seem fair because you do a lot of work. So, to counter that, I think you need a lot of good whys and a lot of good of resilience that, you need to get back on track. And I also do think that you can't do this job when you don't have the right angle to it. What I mean by angle is that if you think of this, it's easy to develop a mentality that it's a tough job. People don't like that I'm approaching them. People don't like that I, want to get their business and they can see it in my eyes and whatnot. And you think you're some kind of like a small type of villain. And that's not the angle that is going to be good and useful. You should have some sort of an angle where you feel that I'm doing a really good thing here. But to develop that sort of a mission in sales, I think it's difficult. And I've seen a lot of people just not getting enough fulfillment or enough satisfaction from a job, which I think is necessary in any job, but in sales as well. So I'd say that maybe these things is like you don't have enough motivation actually when you actually do the job, and resilience that comes with it. You just can't, because of that, cope with the pressure which is there, which pushes you around when you actually want to do your job. And you don't feel that you get enough satisfaction because it's probably because you don't have the right angle, because everybody can get satisfaction out of it, but not when you're just feeling that you're doing something not very good.
That is good, man. I like that. I like the idea of the professionalism and, being able to have your own personal motivation. I think those are some two key things, like you said, separate individuals. And looking back as you're talking, thinking about some of my sales experience and some of the champs that I've worked with, some of the 18 players, that's what they had. They took it personal. Like, this is my business and I'm going to be very professional. They had a process, they had order. And I think that's what this, this is the idea behind activity-based selling, help you to focus on those key things, keep you on track. And one of the thoughts from a blog post that you guys had on your website, you mentioned the concept that if sellers want to make sales revenue, they need to focus on three things. Would you mind sharing with us what are those three things?
Sure. I mean, that's, I think, one of the universals that you can apply in all industries and in all sales. And right now I'm referring to, most sales that are done by human beings and which are not heavily sort of automated. But I think the three things that you need to do there when you want to make revenues, you need to figure out how you can approach your potential customers. Like, no question about it. You come up with a list of them and then just figure out the way to approach. You also need to, one way or the other, meet them. I mean, in some of the sales situations, it doesn't mean that you have an in-person meeting, but people buy from people where they see that they can trust them and they can understand them. And we need to read people, especially when the stakes are higher and we're talking about complex sales. And the third one is you need to be able to, demonstrate what it is that you're selling and what it is that you are trying to make these people buy as much as you can. So, I can't see how you can go about sales and not do these basics, like approaching people, meeting them in one way or another, and then getting to the point where they're interested to see what it is that you got and how that could help.
I like that. When I did business, I sold software. A lot of times when I dealt with people in Texas, and I'm in Florida, they would always want to see the white in your eyes, man. Sometimes they want you to come out to Texas, sit down with them and see the white in your eyes, because it's like going back to the very, very top of what we talked about, right? The human experience. People like to connect. And obviously some of us who sell software and sell things online, we don't necessarily need to get in person. Yeah. But still, yet you have to in some way connect, whether that's over the phone or maybe like a video conference. People like to build that trust in one way, shape, or form, and to connect with those that they're doing. And I feel that those 3 points are very, very powerful. And I think in the demonstration process is not necessarily, when I think of demonstration, Timo, I think of like, providing that also extension of that experience, like a performance of what I can do for you. What's the solution? Not necessarily showing you the problem. I want to solve your problem. And if you can provide that in a powerful demonstration experience, for your prospects, they tend to remember you more and tend to like to do business with you.
Yeah, and I've seen it. Some of the best demonstrations are the ones that people are not really going crazy about the products or services they're selling. I mean, using big words or loud voice, but they are very down to earth. And at the same time, you can see how the customer is experiencing the level of confidence that person has, because they've been dealing with so many different situations like this, and they've been helping, like you said, so many different companies or individuals, and they know what they can do and they know what they can't do. But you can see that when you hear these people talk, and not only talk but ask you things, and you put this together from a customer point of view, and it goes a long way. It's just not demoing some of the features that you have, but it's really showing what it is that you're offering and what the customer will actually get from you, of from the partnership that you're forming.
We're getting ready to get close towards the end of our episode here, Timo. But one of the things I want to ask you, though, is about the challenges. Activity-based selling is, obviously we know it works, but we still know that some people are going to come across challenges. Well, what are some of the major challenges or biggest issues you see that salespeople come across when they're trying to do activity-based selling?
I think one is, like I said before, is that just any selling, any way you sell, one of the challenges will be that you will be drawn to results. Is that a bad thing? I think, that's the main goal, right? But the problem is that you will be drawn because of different pressures. And at the end of the month, you'll be drawn maybe towards that one deal that might close the gap that you have towards your, actual salary that you want to make. And what happens is that you work tirelessly, during the last week or two to get that deal so that you could close that. You slightly forget about all the other things that you should be doing to make sure that you can also have a good pipeline going into next month and the month after. And that deal doesn't come through. So, that's something that is very human to us, that we want to secure the results. And sometimes we just get too attached to something which is not there yet, but we just think that if we just pushed really, really hard, we could actually make that, person or company buy. I think just what I'm saying here is it's very easy to get off your sort of winning schedule of all the key activities that you should be putting in on a weekly basis, monthly basis, so that you can, I'm not saying that it's only a numbers game, but you just can't get away and not put in the numbers. You have to put in some sort of numbers of key activities so that you will put yourself in a position where some companies will buy from you. So it's very easy to get off track. I think that's one of the challenges. I've seen that with rookies, with experienced people. We all want a good result, and we're human, and we sense that we can close something. We just think we're almighty, and we'll just, it just fails. It's not in our control. I'd say that, just that is definitely one. What is big? I think I've seen also that it's difficult to maintain a good pace over a long period of time, and especially a pace which is growing over time. We can all day long hear how you should grow. You should grow your business, grow as a person. But to actually do it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, it's hard. It's a constant requirement to ask yourself, or kind of like look at yourself as like, I'm not good enough, and what can I do better? It's somewhat easier to just, go on the same pace that you've had. But even that, just maintaining that pace while you're being, like I said, pushed around emotionally. You have periods when, there are days and weeks when nobody obviously doesn't buy from you, but also don't want to talk to you, depending on what sort of stages you're at with your business and process. So it's, I've seen that people struggle with that in sales. Human, can't keep up with the rhythm, and we have to live with the consequences. And for some people, it's not cut for them. They just can't deal with this roller coaster that is so normal in sales, that one day you feel that I'm going to sell to everybody because I'm so good. And at the other day, you're going to feel that I'm the worst loser there is. For most people, it's difficult to live like that.
I know what you mean, man. I've had those days, though.
I know. Yeah. Probably have the experience.
If there's one major takeaway you'd like folks leaving this episode to walk away with as it's relate to activity-based selling, what's that one thing you'd like folks to leave with?
I think there's so much value in, like I said before, human being influencing another human being. It's a beautiful thing. In sales, there's a moment when, based on that, somebody will make a buying decision, right? So the question is, will you put yourself in this position frequently enough? And when you get to be there, are you going to be strong there? Are you going to be confident? Are you going to be professional? So I'd say one takeaway for me is maybe kind of like twofold. One is just working your activities the way that you've seen that gives you constant success. I think it's just necessary. Just can't escape that. Not even think. It is necessary. You can't escape that anyway. But just trying to put an extra emphasis on, I need to be on schedule. That is sort of like the gold in my business. And then, doing whatever you can do to be strong in your craft, like what it is that you sell, who are your customers, what sort of help they need, and just developing that sort of position where you feel that you can actually be useful for your customers, they will read this. They will figure this out immediately. And I think when you put yourself in this position because you work hard frequently enough, and then you are strong there because you know what the business is, you know what the product does, you can ask the right questions, you can say the right things when you explain what it is that you do or what the product does or service does. That's just amazing. I think these two combined, the strength of your work that gives you the schedule and the smartness of how you go about your business. Maybe that's the biggest takeaway.
I like that, dude. That's a powerful one, man. I'll make sure we'll link that up in our show notes for sure so people can listen to that and get access to it. What are some of the current projects you guys are working on?
In Pipedrive?
Yeah. Tell me about some of the cool things you guys are doing.
Well, like I said before, our goal has been from the beginning and continues to be forever to figure out the way to build a tool that is useful for a salesperson so that when you have a complex sales process going on in your business, that we will give you the tool to control that and help you win sales. So from a salesperson point of view, what we are doing is, trying to make sure that when you have a pipeline, that you're in full control of it, nothing falls through the cracks. But not only that, we've been building that for a better part of our history, but also are working on making sure that you can control the relationships the way that you have to. In very simple things in sales, it's easy to forget about, contacting people frequently enough and things like that. But not only that, there's so much communication going on that you need to take care of. So what we're doing is we're putting forth the two-way email communication sync so that, people using any email provider can use Pipedrive with that seamlessly. And that's going to be launched quite soon now. Very excited about that. And we've also made sure that we work on giving people better understanding of what goes on in the process, in the pipeline process, in the sales management process by launching the reporting features that we didn't have in the beginning. So it's going to go on like that, where we put the salesperson first and make sure that when you use that product, you feel that, yes, that helps me be the best closer that I can be. And, that's, in a way, it's the mission that we have. And that's what's going on. Just trying to make sure that we have the best, tool for that.
Dude, that is cool, man. Congratulations, man. You guys are doing some good stuff over there. We'll make sure to link back in our show notes so listeners can connect with you guys and to check it out. And I highly recommend you look at Pipedrive. You're looking for awesome CRM. Definitely check out what they're doing over there at Pipedrive. You will definitely, you'll find something really cool in their tool. Highly recommend it.
Thanks, Donald.
Hey, man, I just know it's the truth, man. When you find something good, you got to spread the word, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, bro. We want to make sure we get connected with you. The best way for folks to connect with you guys is by going to pipedrive.com, or what's the best way for them to connect with you and the company?
Yeah, with the company, with the product itself, definitely pipedrive.com, and there's a way to learn more about it or, start a free trial. Very easy, up and running in a couple of minutes. Or if personally with me, LinkedIn probably is the best way. I'm not the quickest responder, but I want to make sure I get to everybody who reaches out. And if you're more about the sales content, then definitely check out our blog.pipedrive.com.
Sweet, man. We'll put that stuff in our show notes. Thanks so much again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Donald, again. Thanks for having me.
I told you my boy knows what he's talking about. Timo gave us some great insights today, some great thoughts on activity-based selling. You're probably doing something similar to this already, but is there something that you can do to fine-tune the way that you're selling? Or if you're not doing this at all, is there a way that you can start implementing this to be able to track your deals better? I've been using it and seeing some great success as I'm able to focus on the key activities at the time. And that's why I've been pushing also the book, Essentialism, man. I'm telling you, it all makes sense. It's simple stuff that you need to be doing. And sometimes we overcomplicate it, putting 10 million things on our plate when we just need to focus on the essential things and focus on the key activities that's going to bring us sales. That is what every sales leader need to be focusing on. What can I do to help my team to perform better in their craft and to focus on the essential things? And that's what every seller needs to be doing, is seeing what can I do to bring value to my client by focusing on those simple, essential things. But again, phenomenal interview, phenomenal time connecting with Timo. If you want to connect with them as well, just go to thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode, the number 356. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode, number 356. And there you can get connected with Timo, learn about the software, learn about the books and everything that we had discussed in this episode today. all in all, I want you to be happy. I want you to be successful. Want you to be just like the best you could possibly be. But most importantly, I want you to go out and do big things.